We are tracing a direct line from the body horror of 2024's The Substance to the ultimate victory of 2026's Oscar winner, one battle after another. The journey involves a tragic death, a $5 million federal lawsuit, a massive studio fire, and a real handgun pulled on camera. Let's trace the web. We start with The Substance. Dennis Quaid plays Harvey, the unhinged network executive. But Quaid was never supposed to be in the movie. Director Coralie Fargeet cast Hollywood legend Ray Liotta for the role. Liotta signed the contract. Pre-production began. Then, in May 2022, Liotta died in his sleep. The Substance lost its villain just before cameras rolled. They called Quaid. He stepped into a role haunted by a real tragedy and delivered the most aggressive performance of his late career. His son is Jack Quaid. He met his own physical limit on the Amazon series The Boys. In Season 2, they built a 50-foot, anatomically correct animatronic whale carcass on a beach in Toronto. They drove a real speedboat right into it. The script required Jack Quaid and his co-stars to hide inside the fake whale. The shoot took days. The temperature hit 90 degrees. The hundreds of gallons of fake movie blood pooled inside the animatronic, fermented in the summer sun. Trapped inside that whale with Jack Quaid was Carl Urban. 2 decades earlier, Urban faced a different kind of production nightmare. He played Eomer in The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Shooting in New Zealand was an endless logistical crisis. A massive rainstorm triggered a state of emergency in Queenstown, causing mudslides that washed away entire exterior sets. The crew had to evacuate, but the real panic happened in post-production. Director Peter Jackson was running out of time. The studio locked the date for the world premiere in Wellington. The film was simply not finished. Jackson lived in the editing bay, surviving on 3 hours of sleep a night. He was still approving final audio mixes and rendering CGI shots the exact same week the red carpet was being unrolled. He delivered the final cut with only days to spare. It won 11 Oscars. Jackson later faced a completely different ticking clock. He directed the documentary series Get Back. He gained access to 60 hours of unseen footage of the Beatles. The footage sat locked in a London vault for 50 years. Why? Legal warfare. The band members had sued each other in the 1970s. Apple Corp. refused to release the tapes, fearing it would destroy the band's legacy. In 2019, Universal Pictures paid an estimated $10 million just to use their songs for a movie called Yesterday. They hired director Danny Boyle. Boyle shot an entire romantic subplot featuring actress Ana de Armas. In the editing room, test audiences reacted poorly to her character. Boyle cut her completely from the film. There was one problem. Universal had already put Ana de Armas in the global movie trailer. 2 fans realized she was missing and filed a $5 million federal class action lawsuit against the studio for false advertising. A judge actually ruled that movie trailers are subject to commercial speech laws, decades before Danny Boyle directed Trainspotting. The budget was a microscopic £2 million. They shot the film in an abandoned cigarette factory in Glasgow. To prepare for the role of a heroin addict, McGregor lost almost 30 pounds. He strongly considered injecting real heroin just to understand the physical mechanics. He canceled the plan at the last minute and chose to interview recovering addicts on the streets of Glasgow instead. McGregor survived Glasgow and eventually signed on to star in Dr. Sleep, playing the adult version of Danny Torrance. This project triggered a Hollywood standoff. Stephen King wrote the original novel, The Shining. King famously hated Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film adaptation. King called Kubrick's movie a fancy car without an engine and spent 40 years refusing to endorse it. Director Mike Flanagan wanted to make Dr. Sleep, but the studio demanded he use the visual sets from Kubrick's movie. Flanagan had to broker a peace treaty. He personally pitched his script to King, begging him to allow Kubrick's visual universe to coexist with King's original story. King finally surrendered. Flanagan rebuilt the Overlook Hotel from the original blueprints. But the 1980 shoot was a psychological war zone. Stanley Kubrick demanded absolute submission. To keep Jack Nicholson in a constant state of agitation, Kubrick banned him from eating anything on set except cheese sandwiches, the only food Nicholson truly hated. Kubrick forced actress Shelley Duvall to swing a baseball bat at Nicholson for 127 consecutive takes. Her hair began to fall out from sheer physical stress. Then, a massive electrical fire broke out on Soundstage 3 at Elstree Studios. The blaze caused millions in damages and burned the massive Overlook Hotel set to the ground. Kubrick ordered the crew to rebuild it and kept shooting. Nicholson survived Kubrick's psychological war. 26 years later, he brought his own unpredictable terror to the set of Martin Scorsese's The Departed. Nicholson shared a critical scene with Leonardo DiCaprio. The script called for a tense conversation across a table. Nicholson ignored the script. Without warning the director or his co-star, Nicholson pulled a gun that looked so real it scared the entire set and pointed it directly at DiCaprio. The fear captured on camera is completely real. Nicholson forced a young DiCaprio to react to a weapon that appeared terrifyingly authentic, creating one of the most genuine moments of tension in cinema history. DiCaprio absorbed that lesson in extreme realism. He built a career bleeding for the camera. That obsession culminated this year. He starred in one battle after another. The film conquered the 2026 Academy Awards, taking home the biggest prizes of the night and proving that surviving Hollywood's physical and psychological warfare pays off. From a tragic death disrupting the substance to the ultimate victory at the 2026 Oscars, 6 Degrees of Cinema. If you have an obsession for the movies, like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back with a little friend.
Bitch, I felt like Tony Montana!